Morning you guys, it's Karen and I'm here to talk about food phobias. It's something that I mentioned in a previous video that I had, or have, I suppose you could say. Kev, I was asking Kev yesterday, do you think I still have food phobias? And he was saying that he now considers that I'm probably just a fussy eater. So I'm probably more like the fussy eaters of the world and not so much something that you could call a food phobia. When I met him, I definitely was still in the throes of food phobia or food issues. I'm not sure of the correct terminology for it. And I've written some notes down here just of things to remember to tell you guys, but I can't figure what sort of order they would go in, other than I'm telling you it from where I feel like it started up until now and what's helped me, that kind of thing. And so I've not been diagnosed with any kind of food phobia. There was a suggestion of me having a food eating disorder when I was 13, 14, but it passed. I kind of, pulled my socks up and started eating, basically. But yeah, I don't have any kind of diagnosis about it. So let me tell you what happened. My childhood was spent in different homes. So I didn't grow up with mum and dad, that kind of thing. I was sometime with my dad at first on his own. I was sometime with my mum and her husband. Then I went back to my dad, but he remarried at the time. So there was a lot of chopping and changing with some other things in between. But the first thing that I remember is, I remember when I was with my mum and stepdad. So the first thing I remember is being told off a lot when I lived with my stepdad, because I was so fussy and because there was a lot that I was like, I can't eat that. And I can imagine that would be really frustrating as a parent, to constantly, to put effort in to make something to eat and then them not want to eat it. So I remember that. But I remember the biggest memories I have are when I moved to live with my dad and stepmom. And I remember that I would go to the supermarket with her and she would buy meat and I would refuse to carry the meat. Meat has always freaked me out, like in its raw state. I do eat meat, but I was vegetarian from the age of 13, which was when I was allowed to be vegetarian, up until the age of, I think, 19. And in that time I was vegan for a while as well, but I ended up not staying vegetarian because I wasn't getting enough nutrients. There wasn't enough iron in what I was eating. Because I'm so fussy, there just wasn't enough choice of what to eat. And there's a hell of a lot of different choices now, which is why now I choose to be a lot more vegetarian, but I'm still not vegetarian because my taste is still quite limited. So I remember that, and I remember her saying, oh, don't be so stupid, you carry this bloody bag. And I never wanted to hold, if I bought steaks, which I generally don't, Kev will buy the meat if we're having meat, I would sort of pick it up and drop it like that. It just freaks me out and always has. So that's one of the things I remember. But a lot of the things, I had these sort of food rules that didn't make sense to anybody else but me. And even now I think that doesn't make any sense. Like I used to call it my wet and dry rule. That I couldn't have anything wet mixed with something dry. And by that I meant I would have an apple crumble, but I didn't want anything on it. No custard, no cream, no ice cream, nothing. I would have apple crumble, which now I think about it, well, that's wet and dry because the apples were, it was stewed apples with a dry crumble on it. But yeah, it didn't make sense. I wouldn't have gravy. And if there was a spot of gravy on my plate, I would be like, I can't eat this dinner. There's a bit of gravy on it, And like I said, my stepmom, bless her, she would always be, oh, for goodness sake. But she would like wipe it off, and give it back to me. And I feel like she was always really good at trying to cater for my taste. So if, we were still that family where you didn't leave the table until you finished your dinner. But if I really struggled with a meal, she would then probably not give that to me again. She'd try to find something that I liked. And a lot of my food tastes were very simple. And actually so were hers. And I think she had a lot of food issues as well. So I think there was probably an understanding for that, because she was the one that taught me about eggs. And when you break an egg, there's this little white stringy bit attached to the yolk. And she called it the eye. And she said, I've got to take the eyes out. And ever since she told me that, she said it's the umbilical cord. I was like, oh my God, there's no way I can do that. So I can't eat eggs unless I have broke the egg and taken out the umbilical cord or whatever that little white stringy bit is. It makes me feel quite ill. And actually Kev knows that I wouldn't eat anything without doing that, and he was making us a cheese omelette the other day, and I went into the kitchen in the middle of him taking them all out, and I said to him, that's one of the reasons I love you, that you're doing that because you know that it's what I'd want, even though by the time it's in an omelette I'd probably not notice, you know, and he couldn't care less about it. And I was just like, that's so sweet that he's doing that. He didn't need to, you know, he could have pretended he'd done it, because I wouldn't notice. And I have eaten, like, you know, an egg mayonnaise sandwich from a shop before. I don't like to, but because I'm so fussy sometimes it's the only thing that I could eat. So yeah, eggs and that kind of weird thing came from my stepmom. But a lot of the foods that she made I did enjoy. Kev and I were talking about the dinners that we had when we were young, and the things that Pam made that I really enjoyed were corned beef and rice, or she'd make egg fried rice, and I knew that she took the eyes out because she always freaked out about them anyway. So it was egg fried rice and sweet corn. I absolutely adored that meal. So that was kind of me as a child. And then, you know, I did a lot of travelling when I was sort of 17, 18, you know, I went to Spain, lived in Spain for a year, and I did that a couple of times. I did some nannying, really struggled to eat there. I was always very, very slim because whatever meal I got, I picked at it. I never ever would just have a meal put in front of me and I would eat everything. I would, as Kev always says, you push your food around, you inspect it, you smell it, you look at it. It takes a long time before it gets into your mouth, you know. And I would never finish a plate. I would always eat probably half of it. And it's funny because I've since, in my later years trying to diet, I've read that that's the thing to do. You know, you don't have to eat the whole plate, eat until you're no longer hungry. And I wish I had that mentality now, to be honest, but I don't. I do eat, I cook things that I like and I finish the whole plate. I don't cook as big a plate, I suppose. But even like I'd go to McDonald's. McDonald's is probably the only place I could go and actually buy something that I knew I would eat. But even then, I'd eat half a burger and a few chips, and then that would be me done. The only real time that my food issues have become a thing have been when I've been in relationships. So I know that, well, no, that's not true, because people, when I've gone, even my dad would get frustrated if we went out to dinner in a Chinese restaurant. I would only ever eat egg fried rice and curry sauce, and he would want me to try something, you know, try something else, try something else. And a lot of people have been like that over the years. There was a guy that I was in a relationship with called Paul. If you follow me on Patreon, I've told you the whole story of Paul, my ex. And I remember he couldn't believe that I hadn't tried steak, because basically I didn't try new things. I liked what I liked. And over the years, I've probably eaten a lot of potatoes and a lot of white rice, because I like potatoes with rice and butter. That was one of the meals. That was one of my staple meals. And when I was single, it didn't matter that I was eating that. You know, nobody was there to tell me whether it was what they thought of it. That was just what I had to eat. I wasn't very adventurous. I didn't eat vegetables, and I didn't want to try anything new. I was just happy with eating what I liked, you know. But this Paul couldn't believe that I hadn't tasted steak. He thought I would love it. And he's like, you've got to try it, you've got to try it. And I was like, okay, get some bloody steak then and we'll have steak. So we got this steak, and I had gone into the kitchen just as he was putting the steaks into the frying pan, and I could see blood. And I just knew at that moment I wasn't going to be able to eat them. And I was like, oh no, he's going to be annoyed. You know, and I can understand it because they're expensive, and it never makes any sense, my food issues. It's so psychological, and I know that it's psychological, and I just knew that seeing that blood I was not going to be able to swallow it. I just wouldn't be able to get it down, you know. And I've had choking issues all my life, and a lot of them are psychological. More recently, they're actual physical, like things like nuts make me cough and choke sometimes. But again, I remember when I was young, I woke up and ran into my dad's bedroom and said, I can't breathe, and I was screaming, and he went, if you couldn't breathe, you wouldn't be screaming, you know. But I always felt like I was choking. Maybe something to do with the Ehlers-Danlos loss, because there is a lot of those kind of issues with it. What was I talking about? The steak? Yeah, back to the steak. So we cooked this steak, brought it through to the living room, and I sort of cut it all up, and I could see him waiting for me to eat it, and I just felt under so much pressure, and I was like, oh God, I absolutely can't. And he'd cooked it well done for me, you know, he knew that I would have to have it well done. And I was eating whatever was with it, the chips or whatever. And I said to him, I just can't eat it. And he went in such a strop. He was like, you're a little baby, you know, why are you acting like a child? Just eat some, you know, don't be so stupid, blah, blah, blah. And that's what Kev and I were talking about last night, I think it was actually. And he was saying he just doesn't understand people trying to force other people to eat something that is their taste. You know, it's like, I love steak, therefore you will love it. As it turns out, I do really enjoy steak now, but only, like, there'll be times I go off it. Like, if Kev buys it, he puts it in the fridge in a place that I can't see it. He tells me when he's going to start cooking it and I don't come in the kitchen. There's been times when I've seen the steak and not been able to eat it. Or if I come across a piece of fat, I then can't eat the rest. And Kev is absolutely so understanding with it. He humours every bit of my food phobia, if you like. And I think that's a good thing. You know, everybody might not agree, but for me that has worked because it means that I'm sort of more open to trying new things. And we were talking about the fact that, you know, it shouldn't be something that Paul was upset with me for, but he was really angry. He wasted money. I was just acting like a child, you know, but I just physically couldn't get it in my mouth. I was just like, it was making me feel ill, you know. And I always had a fear of vomiting because of something that was told to me by somebody not so nice. Told me that I would die that some people died from vomiting and choking on it. And I was always terrified, and still am, of vomiting. Anyway, fast forward all these years where I'm eating all these weird things. Even when I worked in hotels, the chef would ask me what I wanted for dinner, because I was the night manager in a lot of hotels, and he would go, what do you want me to get you for dinner? And we were friends. I was friends with most of the chefs I worked with, actually. And I'd be like, oh, can you leave me some potatoes and rice? And he'd be like, what? Potatoes and rice? Like, and I'd be like, yeah, please, if that's okay, I just want some potatoes and rice, you know, and he'd leave me potatoes and rice for my dinner. Except the one French guy who was like, I'm not doing potatoes and rice, you know. So fast forward to when I met Kev, and I knew that Kev wanted me to meet his friends, and he wanted me, because he was part of a softball team, and he wanted me to go out to dinner. And I had kind of avoided going out to dinner with, I don't think I'd been out for dinner with any guy, because it was something, I had a real social anxiety as well, but the thought of being social and mixing that with eating was just more than I could take. I was like, I am bound to be the one that spills something. But not only that, like, I won't know any things on the menu because I eat so simply. I won't understand the menu, and I probably won't find anything on it that I like. I just knew how fussy I was, and so I had avoided up until then, and I was 33 when I met Kev. I'd avoided going out to dinner with a guy. Then, no, I think I might have been to dinner with my first boyfriend when we were on holiday, but it was all pizza. It was fine. And so there was this dinner that he kept talking about. He wanted to, you know, go to this dinner with his friends. And when I met Kev, I started seeing a counsellor for my anxiety and for my kind of issues around food. And I said to her, I'm thinking of finishing with him simply because I don't want to meet his friends over dinner. I don't want to go out to dinner with them. And he wanted to go out to dinner as well. And I was like, I can't cope. I just don't think I can do it. I can't go out to dinner with somebody, let alone a big group of people, you know. And she was saying, oh, why not tell him about it? And I was like, oh God, I've just not long met him. You know, he's going to be like, what the hell is this kind of freak I'm with, you know? But she encouraged me to tell him. And she said, well, if you're thinking of finishing with him anyway, because of it, you might as well tell him. And then if he is a freak about it and it finishes, then you're in no different situation, you know. So I did tell him about it, and he was amazing. He was just so amazing. He said that him and I didn't have to go out to dinner until I was completely ready, or until I found somewhere. He said, we'll look at the menus, and if you can find somewhere where you can see that there's something you can eat, we could go there. And he says, and I could order something different that you would also maybe like, and then if you don't like yours, we can swap. It was just so understanding. But about this group dinner, he said, well, it's up to you. He said, I would love it if you would come. And he said, but we don't have to stay long. He said, why don't we like arrange it? He said, and if you get there and you feel uncomfortable, we can have like a word or a signal or something, and we'll just leave. And he said, and in fact, he said, if you say you want to go, right up until the taxi gets outside of the restaurant, you can change your mind. And you know, if you say to me at that point, no, I'm too nervous, I don't want to do it, we'll just go home again. And he says, and I won't, you know, that's absolutely fine. I won't be mad at all. And I actually believed him. He was that type of guy. You know, you can see why I fell in love with Kev. And so I agreed to go, and I was absolutely terrified. But I went, and he said, you know, even when we pulled up, he said, are you sure you're still all right? You're still okay to go in? And I was like, yeah, absolutely fine. So we went in, and it actually went all right. And do you know what? I did spill a bloody drink. And the world didn't end, you know. I didn't find anything I liked on the menu, so I just was kind of whispering to him like, what is that, you know, and it's like, order that and you'll probably like that. And there was little bits of things that I ate. I didn't finish my whole meal, but nobody really seemed to mind. And so it was a bit of a revelation for me. I was like, oh, this is okay, you know, I'm not such an outsider as I thought I was. One of the stories Kev will tell, if we like go out with another couple now for drinks or whatever like that, you know, and they ask how we met, he will tell the story about the first time we ordered a pizza together, and that let him know how bad I was with food, because we didn't go out to dinner because I had already told him, you know, about my issues. And we did end up going out to dinner. We've been out loads since. I've been with him 16 years, you know, this is for the first, I don't know, year or so. We didn't go out very much. But we ordered a pizza because I always was happy to eat pizza. So we ordered this pizza, and I had a thing, the foods that I didn't like, I didn't want near me. I didn't like the smell of them. So things like, I didn't eat onions, I didn't like peppers, things like that. I didn't want them near my food. Like I said, with that gravy thing, you know, if a spot of gravy was on my plate, I wouldn't eat the food. And we ordered this pizza, and I ordered pepperoni and mushroom, as I always did, and he ordered one with peppers on it. And when we got it, I thought this was totally normal at the time, but I said to him, oh my God, I can't eat mine. A pepper's been near my pizza. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, there's a pepper I can see that's been near it, and I can smell the pepper on my pizza. And when I eat that pizza, I'm going to get the taste of the pepper, so I can't eat it. When he tells that story now, it's very, very comical. It's like, a pepper has been near my pizza, is what she said. And, you know, in his head, he was like, what? You know, like, a pepper's been near my pizza, so you can't eat it. It's ridiculous, and it seems even ridiculous to me now. He certainly didn't let on how freaked out he was. Most of my friends knew about my oddities, and would, you know, people would always take the mickey out of me, and I was okay with that. It was something I was open about with my friends. I don't know why I found it so awkward with a partner. I suppose because you're expected to go out to dinner with your partner, aren't you? But like, even my best friend at the time, Derek, I remember picked me up from hospital. I had an operation for my endometriosis, and he picked me up from hospital because I didn't have any family up here, and I wasn't with anybody at the time, and he come and collected me and made me dinner. And he'd asked me what I wanted, and I was like, well, can you make me a spaghetti bolognese? And he said, yeah, absolutely. He said, but it's got onion in it. And I was like, no, I don't want onion in it. I don't make it with onion. And I made it with corn mince anyway. And I don't think what I made was an actual spaghetti bolognese, to be honest. And he was like, I can't make spaghetti bolognese without an onion in it. And I was like, I don't like onion. If you put onion in it, I won't eat it. And he was like, what about if I cut it really small? And really trying to persuade me. And I was just like, no. So he eventually made me a spaghetti bolognese with no onion, which even now I think, I can't imagine a spaghetti bolognese without any onion in it, you know. But I will still only eat onions if they are chopped very small. Anyway, Kev was the cure to my food phobia, basically, because he was just so understanding. And the minute that somebody is so understanding about something, it allows you to consider options. You know, I knew that I wasn't going to piss him off, basically, if, like, we went to a restaurant. The first time we went to a restaurant, I remember the exact restaurant we went to, and I was like, oh God, I'm so nervous, what will I order? And I was looking through the menu, and I was like, oh, I don't know whether to get that or that. And he said, well, why don't I get one of those things, you get the other, and, you know, you can eat whichever one you feel most comfortable with. I'd always wanted to try salmon. Literally, the list of things that I didn't eat was so long. It would be easier to tell you the things I did eat. Like I said, I ate potatoes, I ate rice, and I ate pizza. I had cornflakes for breakfast and probably a cheese sandwich for lunch, and that was pretty much all I ate. And I'd always wanted to try salmon. I thought I might like salmon, and so he was like, well, just try it, you know, and if you don't like it and you leave the whole meal, so what? And so I did, and that happened again and again and again with Kev, until we reached today where my list of foods is so long, you know, the things that I will eat are so long. And now Kev was pointing out a couple of things that we didn't have to do. He says, now if we go to a restaurant, we don't have to look at the menu before we go. He said, you don't even do that, because if we were going out to a restaurant, I always had to look at the menu before to see, so that I could figure out exactly what I'd have and exactly what I was going to ask them. You know, does that come with this? Or because normally things would be on the menu, and then it would come, like, say you'd order a burger and it would come with mayonnaise in it or whatever they put in burgers. If I have a burger, I have the burger and the bun, and that's it. Maybe a bit of cheese, but that's it, nothing else. And so I'd always look at menus first. And he said, you don't do that anymore. We go somewhere. And I'm pretty confident that I could find something on the menu now to eat. There's still times where I can't. And I still have times where I get really freaked out about food. And it's happened recently, actually. And it started because, actually, I think I know what it was because. It was because I had to reduce my medication for my bladder condition, which is called amitriptyline. But amitriptyline happens to be something that works on nerves. And so it makes you a bit calmer, which I hadn't really realised until I tried to come off it. I'm only on a very low dose anyway. But what happened was we were having dinner, we were having Parmesan chicken with green beans and pine nuts. And I don't know why Kev had said it, but he went, well, that'll be because chicken's a muscle. The minute he said it was a muscle, I couldn't eat another mouthful. I was just like, oh my God. And I was like, I'm really sorry. And he was apologetic. He was like, I'm sorry, I didn't even think. And that's me now. I haven't eaten chicken since. I just really, really struggle because he said it was a muscle. It makes me realise that it's an animal, you know, and it's just, sorry, I keep flicking my hair back. I'm so hot. But that's just made it really, really difficult for me to eat chicken. And I know these things pass because we've had a period where I couldn't eat any red meat at all. There was a period where I couldn't eat steak, but there was a period where mincemeat, I just was like, no, that's it. I can't eat red meat at all. And we had to have turkey mince in our chili. He used to make a really nice chili, and I was like, I can't have red meat anymore. You're going to have to make it with turkey mince. And in fact, we did try some vegetarian mince, but it was horrible. I still push my food around on the plate, less so if it's vegetarian, because I don't feel like I need to look out for so many things. And I'm not going to verbalise them because otherwise I have nothing to eat for the next week. But I feel like I push my food around less if it's just all, you know, potatoes and vegetables or things like that. I've got a weird thing about when I'm eating as well, people being behind me. And again, it's something that my friend's aware of, so she's always happy for me to sit wherever. It doesn't make me feel anxious. But Kev knows if he's not to walk behind me. And he does sometimes do it, actually, because he did it the other day and I was like, and he says, I'm not going to touch you. He says, I know not to touch you no matter what. But he accidentally did touch me one time, and that freaks me out. I feel like if I'm eating and somebody touches me that I might choke. These things just sometimes have no reasoning, you know, they just are weird things that are real fears. So anyway, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent and rambling a bit, but I wanted to tell you the things that I think will help you if you've got any food phobias, because Kev was my saviour, if you like. He's the one that's got me over my food phobias, or I'm much better. Like I said, I still have a lot of things going on, but I can eat a lot more. But not everybody can go out and find a Kev. But you can take on that, the idea that don't accept people trying to bully you into eating things that you don't want to eat. If you've got certain taste buds or certain fears or whatever it is, whatever your reasoning is for the things that you eat, unless you're actually physically putting yourself at risk, meaning that you've got an actual, you know, severe eating disorder, then I would say don't apologise and don't think that you're abnormal and people, you know, need to bully you into eating something, because I have realised that on meeting Kev, he's the only person in my life that has gone, I don't mind if you don't like it and you it's not a waste, you tried it, you know, or if you don't want to try it, it's fine. And so that has widened my taste. Just the minute somebody gives you that permission to be as fussy as you are, you feel like you can get a bit braver, you know, and you can try things. So don't apologise for it. I wasn't putting myself at risk, but it wasn't a good thing that I didn't eat vegetables. And so it's a good thing that I was able to, you know, widen the amount of food I have. I'm probably getting much more nutrition now than I did in my, you know, 20s and before and after. But yeah, don't apologise and don't try to surround yourself by supportive people, and know that there are people like Kev that are supportive and that won't be so, oh, stop being silly and oh, you must try it, you know. And the other thing I would say is to try things where there's a low risk that won't make you feel guilty. So if you're out to dinner, if you do go out to dinner and you see something on, like say your partner's plate or your friend's plate, ask if you can try just a little bit of it, so that, you know, you're trying something and there's not a risk of you having to order a meal and feeling guilty because you didn't eat it, that kind of thing. Or try foods when you're on your own, when there's nobody else around, because I did that with hummus. always, hummus was on my list, if you like. It was on my list of bad foods. I didn't want hummus anywhere near me. I didn't want it anywhere near my food. And I don't know what happened, but Kev was away for a softball weekend, and I was thinking to myself, this hummus, I wonder if I'd actually like it if I tried it, you know, because there's no vinegar in it. I thought there was vinegar in it. Can't stand vinegar. And I was like, it's actually just chickpeas, garlic and olive oil. And I now like garlic. I'd never tasted garlic before. I liked that. And I was like, chickpeas seem pretty inoffensive. I think I'm going to go and buy some hummus. If I don't like it, I'll just put it in the bin. And it didn't matter whether Kev was there or not, but I just wanted to do it on my own. And so I went and bought some raw carrots, which I did like. I liked raw carrots. That was something I ate. And dipped them in this hummus. And I just thought it was the best thing ever. I was the same when I tried avocado. I thought it was amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is like lumps of cream. And I spoke to Kev on the phone the weekend that I tried the hummus, and I said to him, you'll never guess what I've been eating. And he was like, what? I said, hummus. I'm eating hummus and carrot sticks. And he was like, what? He was like, that was one of your I won't have that near me foods. I was like, I know, I don't know what happened, you know. But try things when you're on your own. Just, it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be exotic, it doesn't have to be a whole meal. Just, you know, get something, try it, and see if you do like it. You might surprise yourself. I think that's everything there is to tell you about my food issues. Like I said, I don't know what the right terminology is for the issues that I've had with food. And I feel like I've now got a different issue with food, in that, in a way, it's not a good thing that I love food so much, because I'm now overweight. You know, I now need to lose a few stone, and I'm finding that very difficult. And I now feel like I've almost got a food addiction. You know, I'm addicted to food. And as you know, I am doing the keto diet. I will do an update video soon. I'm struggling with that a little bit, because the meat is the thing that, the meat substitutes were what I enjoyed. So I enjoyed a veggie burger, but it's got way too many carbs. And so really I'm having to eat more meat on it because of my fussy taste. But even that is easier for me. Everything is easier for me nowadays. You know, when I go out with Kev's parents for dinner, I'm not nervous anymore. You know, I'm not anxious anymore. I used to be an anxious wreck, and I'm just like, yeah, we'll go wherever, you know, and I know I'll find something on the menu. And I'm also a bit more confident now about saying, oh, there's nothing on here I like. Let me ask the waiter if they could do that without that. You know, that's the other thing I would perhaps recommend to you. Don't be afraid to ask, can you do this without everything except the burger? You know, like a burger, say. Can I get the burger but just with nothing in it at all? And I was surprised how many restaurants would do that, how many places will actually cater to your fussiness. So I hope this was interesting. Maybe it rang a bell with you. Maybe you are surprised you've never met anybody like me with these weird issues, or maybe, I don't know, let me know how many of you have any issues that are similar to me, or know somebody that does. So that's everything for today. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll speak to you again soon.